Hello, this is Charity. I want to show you some of the changes that I've recently made to the 10 stitch blanket for Loom knitters. This was a pattern I converted. The original pattern for needle knitting is by Frankie Brown. It's an awesome pattern, and it's been out I think for close to a year, the Loom knitting version, and in that time I've gotten a little better at converting patterns, and I've been able to figure out some changes to make this more like the original. I want to show you what I've gotten done here so far. And first notice that I know one of the trouble people had was knowing exactly where to start the corners. So I'm putting a safety pin. I've got a little safety pin on each one of my corners, and they're a nice distinct corner there. But that does help when you're on the loom. Sometimes you just get going and miss that. So this will help us know exactly when to turn. The back stitching is done a little bit differently. Some of the problems people reported was that it would bunch up in the center. Well, this stitching is very stretchy, so it will help prevent that bunching. And the final change is, you see there's no more of the knit and purl edges. It's a nice pretty edge here. And this is the way the original pattern was written, but the problem was I could not figure out originally how to get this stretchy center here, this binding to be nice and stretchy, so I couldn't use this edging, and that's the reason that it was different. But now that I've got it figured out, I'm going to show y'all, and there is a change in the corners. The corners are now going to be done exactly as the pattern is written. And as you can see, my little safety pin here is on the corner, and it's time to put this corner piece on my peg number 10. So I'm going to go ahead and remove the safety pin for now and start on row 1 of my corner section. So I'm going to skip peg 1, and that's what gives us this nice pretty edge. Is each time we come to peg 1, for an odd row, for a knit row, we're going to skip it. So we're going to knit, all the way down to peg 9, and then here we are at peg 10. We're going to lift the stitches off, wrap and turn. This beginning section of the corner will be exactly what you're used to seeing, same way it was originally done. It will be the second part of corner 2 that is done differently. And I don't know if you can hear my dog here in the background. If so, I'm sorry. She is whining this morning. No particular reason. She just wants attention this morning because I'm talking, and it's not to her. Okay, now we've purled back to peg 2. We're at peg 1, so we're going to do a half stitch and then continue back down. wrap peg 9, purl the way to peg 2, half stitch, knit down and to peg 7, wrap peg 8, purl down, to peg 2, half stitch, knit down to purl 6, peg 7, oh good grief, knit down to peg 7, 6, purl, wrap peg 7, oh my, y'all, I just woke up, sorry. Okay, purl back down to peg 2, knit down to peg 5, wrap peg 6, and for those of y'all wondering, I do not know what this yarn is. I lost the label a long time ago. I can tell you by the feel of it, it is definitely a Red Heart Super Saver. I am not a Red Heart Super Saver lover, but I'm not a hater either. Because it definitely softens up once it's washed and it lasts forever. And I buy it a lot to test out my patterns for economical reasons. And I think that they've got lots of awesome colors. But if I'm making something as a gift, I usually don't use it. But I do like this one. I like these colors. It is a bit scratchy though. Okay, and we're wrapping peg 3, purl peg 2, half stitch. Now this is a little different right here. We're going to wrap peg 2, we're going to half stitch peg 1. Okay, that's the end of the corner, the first part of corner. This is how we've done it in the past. Now is where it's going to be different. We're going to go here to peg 2. We're going to lift these stitches off again, wrap peg 2 again. So now on peg 2, we're going to have 1, 2, 3. Half stitch on peg 1. Now we're going to knit off peg 2. We're going to lift all 3 of those wraps over. And then we're going to, there's nothing to purl, so we're going to half stitch peg 1. Knit peg 2. Wrap peg 3. Purl peg 2. half stitch peg 1, knit peg 2, knit all 3 over peg 3, wrap peg 4. So do you see what we're doing here? Before we head back to purl, we wrap that next peg. And this is the way, if you'll watch some of the sock videos from Knitting Board, this is the same way you do heels and toes for socks, except you do this at both ends. Whereas to make the corner, we're only doing this at one end. And it gives a very, very nice formed corner. And again, this is the way the pattern was originally written. And I am just better at understanding it, because in the last year since I originally converted this pattern, I've gotten better at loom knitting. I've gotten better at needle knitting. And I was able to, between those two, better understand the changes that needed to be made in order for this 10 stitch to work exactly the same way as the original needle knit version. And the other big change that you're going to see is right after we finish this corner, when we go to work the join, and yes, that is my dogs playing Snickers and Biscuit all the time. Oh my goodness. They're the happiest, most playful dogs. If you are a Facebook friend of mine, you see pictures of them a lot because they're my babies. Okay, we're getting close to being done. Oops. Now we're wrapping peg number 9. So it's got 3 loops on it. All these others have just 1. Purl all the way back down to peg number 2. Wrap this one and continue back down. Okay, so now here we are at peg number 9. We're going to lift all 3 of these over. Whoops. Excuse me. We are not going to wrap peg 10 again. We're just going to knit over all of those stitches. Here is our nice new pointy corner. Right here down at peg 1, and I'm going to take my safety pin, put it right there so that I don't lose it. when I am knitting. And I'm going to skip peg 10. I'm not going to purl it. I'm going to purl peg 9. Head back. And on this next knit row, we will start the join, which is a different method than we used before. Like I said, it gives a nice stretchy join that should prevent the bunching. If you do have the bunching, you will be able to just stretch it out. Should be able to stretch it out right here on the loom and get rid of the bunching. But if you will, definitely it would come out in any blocking that would be done. Mine came out just right here on the loom. Okay. And here we are at peg 9. We've got a marker on peg 10. This is different. So at peg 10, this is the corner that we just knitted, laying right here. So we're going to lift it up. It's this stitch right here. And we're going to grab the very next stitch. We're going to grab both pieces of it right here. Both pieces. And we are going to put this on peg 11. I know, it's a 10 stitch blanket. We're going to put it on peg 11. Bring our working yarn behind peg 10 and in front of peg 11 and knit this over. All this does is gives us a stitch now that we can put on peg 10 and go ahead and snug it up. Don't yank on it. Just snug it up so there's not a bunch of slack. And knit the bottom over the top. And what that's called is a skip peg 10 and pass slip stitch over. That's what it's called, but that's all we're doing. And that keeps this edge out of this seam, and that's what makes it nice and stretchy instead of bunching up. And I'll show you that again. This also, by doing the half stitch on peg 1, that's what gives the outer edge of our piece, the piece this one that eventually goes on peg 11, that's what gives it this nice clean edge. And it also makes it really, really easy to determine what goes on peg 11, because for each garter ridge, okay, here's a garter ridge. It's one knit row and one purl row. For each one of those, you have one end stitch. So every one of these edge stitches will eventually go on peg 11. So there's no guessing which one. It's every one. So we can see that this stitch is the one that has the work done through it. So it's this next one. Goes on peg 11. We're going to bring the working yarn behind peg 10, place it in front of peg 11, knit over. Take the stitch off peg 11, place it on peg 10, snug it up, and knit over. And that creates this join back here. It's lovely, easy to do, and you will continue that until you get to your safety pin, Once your safety pin goes on peg 10, you work your corner and then begin this section. That's it.